In an isolated coal mining town called Coalwood, West Virginia, everybody works in the mines for a living. Almost everything is powered by coal. A young boy, Homer, lives there. In the morning, he went to school with his friends. At school, Homer changed and started playing football.
Let's see what you got. Now, Third. Third. I'm gonna run right over you. You sure got guts, but you gotta know when to quit.
Later, Homer meets the townspeople in a small store. They asked if his father said anything about the layoffs, but Homer didn't hear anything. Meanwhile, in a mining area, one guy got into an accident. His father fired the person responsible and turned to Homer. He asked how his football game went.
Well, I told you, you spend the summer shoveling coal and you'll be playing linebacker next fall.
Get that slate off the loader.
In class, Homer learns about radio signals and where they come from. Later that night, the first rocket, Sputnik, lit up the sky. As others drifted away, Homer stayed, transfixed, his eyes locked on that glowing speck above. The next morning, Homer told them he is going to build a rocket like Sputnik. His brother laughed at him. Only his mother showed any kindness. Homer kept going anyway. The next day, he filled a metal cylinder with gunpowder and tried to ignite a fuse, but the blast scared his mother.
What happened? Are you okay?
Yeah.
My heart's pounding. I thought the mine blew up.
Goodness, man.
After that, Homer gets engulfed in studies about rockets. He began spending mornings at the small town library hunting for books about rockets. One morning, he noticed Quentin, a quiet boy who always earned top marks. Most classmates avoided Quentin and even mocked him, but Homer ignored that and decided to approach him.
You can't be seen with him, Homer. He's a weirdo. Do you know anything about rockets?
Quentin knew a lot about rockets, and the two quickly bonded over their shared interest. With Quentin's help, Homer's experiments moved out of his head and into action, and soon a small team of friends were meeting in Quentin's basement to build their first real rocket.
This thing's starting to look like a rocket.
Listen to this. Weld the washer to the base of the rocket by creating a combustion chamber and nozzle.
Do we really need this nozzle thing?
The nozzle's the most important part.
After working on their rocket, the nozzle still posed a serious problem. Without a strong weld, the rocket would never fly. So Homer secretly approached Dyson, one of his father's co-workers, and asked for help. Dyson hesitated, knowing he could lose his job if Homer's father found out. But once Homer shared his dream, Dyson decided to take the risk. The next day, the boys admired the completed rocket like it was a work of art. Just as they were ready to launch, the principal saw it and ordered the rocket destroyed, calling it dangerous. Before Homer could argue, Miss Riley, the science teacher, stepped in and claimed it was for the school's science fair.
I'm gonna have my eye on you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
And besides, science fairs are for geeks.
No offense, Queen.
And colleges from all over the country hand out scholarships. It's great.
College scholarships for winning a science fair?
Well, maybe it's not for you.
That same afternoon, the boys prepared to launch their first creation, which they named the Puffing. Homer lit the fuse while his friends stood back, holding their breath. The rocket shot upward, but almost immediately veered off course, heading straight toward the mine. Terrified, the boys scattered in panic. Homer, however, stayed behind, worried not about himself, but about the miners who could be in danger. When the rocket spun toward the mine, Homer ran there as fast as he could, only to find his father waiting.
Oh, Homer here wants to be a rocket scientist. That it, John?
He has no idea what he wants to be. And he's a damn thief. Don't you ever let me catch you with these fool things on company property again. You understand me?
Back home, Homer vented to his mother. He felt his father always valued the mine more than his own family, and treated him far more harshly than his brother. His father overheard and entered the room, reminding Homer that he couldn't possibly understand the weight the mine carried, not as a child. Homer snapped back that he would never work underground, no matter what.
You better have a talk with your son, Elsie, 'cause he's out of control.
His friends, discouraged by the failure of their first launch, began to believe they were doomed to live out their lives as miners. Homer lashed out, calling that mindset a waste of life, which escalated into a fight between them. The argument broke off when a car pulled up. A young man about their age asked for directions. He was driving an expensive car, his girlfriend beside him, and the sight left the boys stunned. Homer, still angry, gathered the rocket materials and walked off to find a new base.
Oh, give me that. Oh, and it's perfect. We could build a blockhouse over there.
At the third launch, the rocket went off course again and flew into a man who came to see the launch. Homer ran over to apologize, but the man who had been hit only smiled. He used to be a pilot, and seeing the rocket in the sky reminded him of flying. He pointed out a problem with the rocket's base and recommended a heat-resistant steel, but they had almost no money. Desperate, the boys salvaged a length of old railroad track and tried to work with that.
Odell, you're saying this thing is worth $1.65?
The team pushed on, but the next round of tests went worse. Rockets that once flew cleanly now sputtered, stalled, or even blew apart on the pad. After studying the wreckage, Quentin suggested the problem was air trapped in the fuel chamber. They adjusted the formula and made the fuel thicker and more stable. Confident at last, they prepared for another launch. Miss Riley came to help, but when they reached their field, it was already crowded with people.
That's real funny, Jim.
Homer lit the fuse and joined his friends in the observation shack. This time it soared cleanly, climbing higher and straighter than any of their earlier attempts. The townspeople who once mocked them now cheered and applauded. Miss Riley's face lit up with pride. That same day, Homer turned 18. His mother presented him with a sweater she had knitted and slipped him a letter. Inside was a signed photo from one of Homer's rocket heroes. Overjoyed, Homer showed it to his father, but instead of praise, he was reminded that he was wasting his time with rockets when he could be working in the mines. Hurt, Homer stormed out.
Principles of guided missile design.
I had Miss Waters order it for you a while back.
This is great, Miss Riley. I learned everything. I'm gonna show the guys.
When Homer returned home, he discovered that his brother had been awarded a football scholarship. Everyone celebrated, but Homer quietly locked himself away. A few days later, he asked his father to come watch one of his launches. His father refused, saying he had work. Homer pointed out that he never missed his brother's games, yet always had excuses for him. That afternoon, another rocket launch drew a huge crowd, all eager to see what the boys would attempt next. The flawless launch drew the attention of reporters, and soon the boys' story was on the front page. At school, they were suddenly celebrities. But the celebration didn't last. The principal appeared with police officers in tow. Miss Riley rushed in as soon as she heard, but by then the boys were already in handcuffs. Authorities had discovered a rocket in the forest and blamed them for a recent brush fire. The timing looked bad. One of their rockets had vanished after a launch, and they had no explanation. Being minors, their parents were forced to bail them out.
Boy, it's the first time in your life I've been ashamed of you.
Not long after, disaster struck the mine. Late one rainy night, Homer rushed through the storm to reach the site. Hours passed as rescuers fought to save those trapped underground. Families pushed through fences, crying out for their loved ones. When the survivors were finally carried out, Homer saw Dyson among the dead. His own father was stretchered out as well, injured but alive. A worker quietly told Homer that if it hadn't been for his father's bravery, many more would have perished that night. The family is told Homer's father would recover, but he could no longer work. Unless someone stepped in to fill his role, the mining company would strip the family of their home and possessions. Homer's older brother offered, but it meant sacrificing his chance at a sports scholarship in college. Homer couldn't let that happen. Determined to protect his brother's future, he chose to shoulder the burden himself. The next day, he went to school to withdraw. Miss Riley, devastated, refused even to return his greeting. At dawn, Homer joined the line of miners heading into the pit. As the others bowed their heads in weary routine, Homer tilted his gaze upward. The same satellite that had once sparked his dream still glowed. Not long after, his father recovered enough to return home. He thanked Homer for stepping up. Homer meets with his friends, and he flexes his new muscles as if to show he'd settled into the job. They assumed he had abandoned his dream long ago. Later during dinner, his father urged him to return to school, but Homer shook his head. He claimed he didn't want to go back. His mother's face darkened immediately. She pleaded with her husband to talk sense into their son, but his father dismissed it, saying Homer was a man now, and there was nothing wrong with digging coal. His mother, frustrated and heartbroken, left the table in silence. As soon as he was strong enough, his father went back to the mine. The men praised Homer for his work, saying he had a natural touch for coal.
Well, you know more than they do. You bet your life I do. I know the mine like I know a man. Let's go watch them shoot some coal.
That evening, when Homer returned home, his mother shared crushing news. Miss Riley was gravely ill and didn't have much time left. Homer climbed on his bike and rode to see her. Despite her condition, Miss Riley faced death with calm and optimism.
They told me Hodgkin's can go into remission, so I might have some time.
Is there anything I can do, Miss Riley?
You can accept my apology. And I believed that if you boys won that science fair, got scholarships, went off and did something great with your lives.
Miss Riley spoke softly to Homer about his future. She told him not to let other people's voices drown out his own, not to spend his life buried in the mines when he was meant for something greater. Whatever he chose, she said, she would always be proud of him. That night, he couldn't sleep. He pulled out the rocketry books she had given him and let the numbers and diagrams flow through his mind. Working through equations, he began calculating altitude, distance, and trajectory. After days of effort, he realized where their missing rocket must have landed. He rushed to share his discovery with Quentin, barging into his room late at night. Quentin, surrounded by papers, studied Homer's calculations in disbelief. Together, they stayed up until morning, refining the math.
1.2 miles.
I'll see you at dawn.
Don't you have to go to the mine?
I don't work there anymore.
The next day, they followed their measurements into the wilderness. Rope in hand, they marked out distances, crossing brush, meadow, and hills. By noon, they found what they were looking for, the charred remains of their lost rocket lying in a stream. Carrying it proudly, they marched to school.
Miss Stamp, Miss Ballou, let's go. Back in your seats. Mr. Hathcock.
They didn't start that fire, Mr. Turner.
In the first place, you are not a member of this classroom. You cannot prove conclusively that another one of them didn't start that fire.
Are we to conclude, Mr. Hickam, that since leaving school, you've not only become an expert in rocket science, but in the field of trigonometry?
Homer stood before the principal, explaining the math behind the trajectory. Once dismissed as a poor student, he now stunned everyone with his skill. He used his calculation to prove that their rocket didn't start the fire. At the police station, the truth emerged. The fire that had caused their arrest came from an aviation flare, not their rocket. The principal, ashamed, admitted he had misjudged them. He reinstated Homer and his friends at school and even nominated them to represent the town at the science fair. Back in the basement, the boys prepared excitedly for the event until Homer's father arrived.
Y'all go on home now.
Yes.
Is the reason you skipped work today?
Yes, sir.
Well, you put all this nonsense behind you, Homer. Thought you weren't going to be doing
Dad,
it.
it isn't nonsense.
I don't want to argue with you.
His father reminded Homer of how proud he had been of his strong work underground. But Homer's eyes no longer wavered. His father wanted him to accept the life that had been planned for him. Yet Homer's resolve was clear. He would not. The local science fair finally arrived, and Homer and his friends stunned everyone by taking first place. Their victory earned them a spot at the National Science and Technology Competition. But their celebration was cut short. The principal announced that because of budget limits, only one of the four could attend nationals. Without hesitation, the others insisted it had to be Homer. Just as plans were being made, unrest hit the mine and workers went on strike.
All right, shut them down! Let's go! Strike! Strike! Strike!
Well, they sure are getting themselves worked up. Everybody's saying this one's going to be a long one.
Well, I don't know. John, you know where the suitcase is?
How the hell should I know where the suitcase is? Y'all stay inside.
All right, well, what are we going to do?
Nothing.
Shaken, Homer begged his father to leave the mine before it killed him, but his father only lashed out in return. Years of frustration boiled over between them. His father told him he can go, and Homer angrily told him he is not coming back and walked out. The next morning, Homer's friends put him on the bus to nationals.
By timing the rocket's descent, we would be able to figure out just how high the rocket flew. Like you see, this is a De Laval nozzle.
Two, please.
The judges always go for the most expensive exhibits. The guy with the biosphere is going to win.
Mr. Owens to the security office.
But when he returned to his booth the following day, his heart sank. All of his models and equipment were gone. With the final judging just hours away, panic set in. He called his friends, but to rebuild the rockets, he would need the machines at the mine. The strike made that impossible. When his mother learned what had happened, she marched straight into the crowd of angry strikers. Facing her husband, she demanded he help their son. She even threatened divorce if he refused. For a moment, his father looked stunned, unable to believe she would go that far. But her determination left no doubt. In the end, he relented. Swallowing his pride, he took charge of calming the strike, pushing the men back to work. That night, the mine's machines roared as workers helped craft a brand new rocket for Homer. His mother later called to say she had packed up all his things and mailed them. Hearing her voice, full of support, filled Homer with renewed strength. For anyone chasing an impossible dream, family recognition felt like the greatest gift of all. At the national finals, Homer calmly explained his design and methods to the judges. Later, when his name was announced as the winner, he stood frozen in disbelief. Years of struggle had finally transformed into thunderous applause. Colleges from across the country reached out to him, offering scholarships. Overwhelmed, Homer could only nod and shake hands in gratitude. In the crowd, a man congratulated him, Dr. Von Braun, his idol, but Homer was too stunned to realize until after the moment had passed. Returning home, Homer was welcomed with cheers and applause that swept through the town. After embracing his mother, he asked immediately for Miss Riley. His smile faded when he learned her health had worsened. At the hospital, she managed a gentle smile through her pain, telling Homer to keep going no matter what. Seeing the medal in his hand, she told him that she is proud of him.
Boys are going to college. Y'all got scholarships.
One day, one of them will feel like they can do what y'all did.
On his way back, he stopped by the mine and saw his father at work. Homer invited him once more to attend their final rocket launch, but his father declined, claiming he was too busy. He even teased Homer for not recognizing his hero when he met him. Homer turned to leave, but paused, realizing that though they disagreed, both he and his father carried the same kind of determination. In Homer's eyes, his father had always been a hero in his own way. Mining coal or building rockets, it was all about chasing dreams. That afternoon would mark their final launch, dedicated to Miss Riley. The rocket, named in her honor, drew the largest crowd they had ever seen.
Hi, Homer.
Hi.
Congratulations on winning the science fair.
Thanks.
Good luck.
At the final launch, Homer stepped forward, holding his medal. He thanked everyone who had stood by him and spoke warmly of Miss Riley, who could not be there. Just then, a figure in the crowd caught his eye. It was his father. Shocked and overjoyed, Homer rushed to him and asked if he would do the honor of launching the rocket. With a quiet nod, his father agreed. The crowd counted down together, voices echoing across the field. When his father pressed the button, the rocket leapt into the sky, trailing fire and smoke. In that moment, his father looked at him differently. Pride,